Behold, Barely Birders, as today's video will show you that anything can be done on a budget, including turning this IKEA mini greenhouse into a fully bioactive vivarium. And to start us off, we'll be assembling the greenhouse. Now, there's not much to it really, just grab some shapes and smack them together until it says something in Swedish you can't understand. After completing the build, I used some foam window seals to make sure it's as airtight as possible. You'll find out why later. And peeling the plastic off this tape was honestly the hardest part to do, so good luck to you guys at home. And as you're watching this montage of terrible tape peeling, I'd like to congratulate Maddie for last video's bird suggestion. For anyone new watching, I take anyone's bird suggestion drawings and draw it up for you. It also then goes permanently on the channel banner. So send in the coolest birds with the coolest accessories to be in the next video. Come on. Just peel. Now I'm not sure why, but I decided to do this at 8 PM. But hey, when genius strikes, you gotta swing. Is anyone else getting bitten by ants whilst trying to peel this off? Just me? Oh, okay. After many bite wounds and nightmares of tape, a new day has dawned, which means it's only natural to lead you guys to the next step. And that would be creating the hardscape. Now, a hardscape is referred to anything in a terrarium that's permanently positioned and usually lifeless too, just like this polystyrene I yoinked from work. After cutting it down to size to fit in the greenhouse, I like to draw a rough shape of the featured wall. It really helps me visualize how it'll look in 3D. After that, it's really just go crazy on that thing. And the back wall that I'm envisioning will have lots of nooks and crannies, as well as some ledges for creatures to rest on while climbing the wall. This will be perfect for when an insect wants to stop and read a book on a higher ledge away from the other insects because it's embarrassed that it's reading a romantic novel at the ripe old age of 3 weeks old. Such a devious little insect. After I'm happy with the shapes, I grab a lighter and quickly melt away the soft balls of polystyrene to turn them into an impenetrable, sharp and solid texture. If there's one thing we don't like on this channel, it's soft balls. And this is how the final design looks. I wanted to go for a natural rugged look that would be a perfect terrain for my arboreal inhabitants that you'll see later. Now you know the next stage, folks. Sing it together, we gotta get dirty! Ooh, just a bit of mud. As I line the hardscape with mud and moss, I realise that 1, that's a pretty cool name for a band, and 2, it's a lot cheaper than going out and buying coconut fibre. Naturally, the next step is to prepare the drainage layer for substrate. To make sure water gets filtered to the drainage layer without dirt, I'm using this fly screen mesh that I grabbed off of hard rubbish. That's now ready to go, so I'll take you through the different layers in a terrarium. The first layer is the drainage layer. I'm using these pebbles as they naturally soak up moisture, and they look pretty cool. The next layer is charcoal. I'm using activated charcoal, and this helps reduce toxins and with filtering. And over time, there gets more springtails on charcoal than cocaine on a stripper. Once you're happy with the drainage layer, just slap that filter over it to prevent any dirt to fall into it. I like to put some dried leaf litter and dried moss underneath my soil as it's a great surprise for the little bugs that dig. So far, these layers have represented what the layers of earth look like. And if you've never heard of the next one coming up, you should probably see a doctor or something. I don't know who you see, but you should see someone. It's dirt. It's dirt, guys. I mix soil, sand, and sphagnum moss to create a light and fluffy texture. Perfect for digging. But now, we're making the landscape! Woo! Designing a natural looking landscape is my favourite part of the whole build. I want to incorporate some slate stone in this landscape. So, I break it up and wash the dust off as I try to place them in a way that resembles some ancient looking stairs. The slate stairs will also be a great spot to place food onto as it's a great open area. And it'll also be really good for basking on. Using the polystyrene to my advantage, I then stab some twigs into it, creating a thick vine look. Now, they're not actual vines, guys, come on. And now no terrarium is complete without some neat feather moss, cypress-leaved plate moss, and some fern moss. I especially love this one because it just creates an awesome sense of scale, and it's like a tiny little fern for a tiny little jungle with tiny little people maybe inhabiting it one day. I don't know. Now, I've realised the outrage from not having birds in this video, so here's a list of similarities between birds and moss. Now the landscape and the moss has been complete, so now it's time for adding the plants. Oh, who could have guessed that? There's a bunch of offcuts that I propagate and use in a diatom like this. Now, I'll be putting the names of these plants on screen as I've got a confession to make. Guys, I've actually never spent any money on these plants, you see. If you know where to cut the plant, it costs nothing to do a cheeky trimming from somewhere that rhymes with Dunnings. And I got a few more plants that I've been growing in one of my small terrariums, so I'll be taking some of them too. The most important thing that I've been growing in this is actually a colony of springtails. The common folk don't even realise that this microscopic insect is the foundation of decomposing waste. Just think of them as invisible janitors. And these guys will feed themselves and steadily grow their population over time. They're usually too small to be food for other critters, but are happy to eat their poop and any mould outbreaks. Now, you might be thinking, Barely Birding, what's the difference between a terrarium and a vivarium? Well, the terrarium is for housing plants, and a vivarium is for housing animals. And as we come to the end of the planting phase, I'd like to introduce the final stage, adding some animals. In this vivarium, we're going to add, no, not that one, not that one, no, definitely not that one, not that one, no, not that one, I don't even know what that is, help, not that one, no, not that one, yes, this one. It's an isopod. They're most commonly known over here as butchie boys or slaters, but around the world they're called woodlice, roly-polies, peelbugs, chooky pigs, potato bugs, and dirt piggies, just to name a few. But I call them friends, as they're the perfect pet for all ages. They don't buy and are very low maintenance. They also come in so many cool shapes and sizes, just like the fan favourite rubber ducky isopods. Oh, you've spotted him? Yeah, that's a common garden skink, commonly found in your garden. I thought I need an apex predator to keep the population from booming, you know? And I heard if you train a garden skink from birth, you can probably train him to do your taxes properly, maybe. And with that, I bring the end of the setup stage, with life in every corner, but how has it held up over time? Some of the dead plants I put in have actually started to sprout and take off. The vivarium is starting to look how I pictured. Over time, I'm sure it will fill out and become the overgrown jungle I plan it to be. The amazing thing about terrariums as a hobby is that you can create a small window into another life. You can have an exotic rainforest in your living room if you wanted, and it really doesn't cost much if you're resourceful enough and spend the time. As time went on in the vivarium, new life was born, and the shedded shells of a grown isopod become food for the springtails. Critters that I initially didn't intend on putting in there have emerged, such as this hedgehog slug. If you guys want to see updates on the development of this vivarium, maybe stick around because I'll be putting things up on the channel every now and then. And if you'd like an update video in the future, let me know, because on this channel, we're just barely birding.